Welcome everybody back to a Bag of Tricks. This is episode number, I don't even know anymore. I think 5, 6, 7, something like that. If you guys have never seen a Bag of Tricks before, this is a podcast with me, Baggins, and of course we got the majestic Mr. Trick here as well. How's it going, Mr. Trick?
Hey, I'm doing great, Master Baggins. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We've both been playing Season 1 of New World, Fellowship and Fire. We're about a week in now, so for the context of recording, or people listening to the podcast, this was recorded on the 10th of April. It's April, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And Fellowship and Fire came out was it Tuesday last week, which was like the 2nd, I think it was, or the 4th. Yeah, the 4th. That was it. It got delayed quite a few times, but it did finally arrive. We got it. Last week. With the delays, there was it felt like it landed well for the most part. There was an issue where some people were like losing their gear when they logged in, which was like a little bit spooky. But
Right.
to my understanding, Amazon has like fully fixed that now, so that's good at least. Other than that, I don't think there's really been that many major issues, has there? Crafting was like a little
by
bit
the way-
jank, but
Yeah, they rewarded those players. They gave them 50,000 marks.
yeah, no, I was thinking, man. Some people in the chat was saying, like, dude, I wish I logged in without my gear because you got 50,000
No, they
marks of
didn't.
fortune.
No, they didn't. There's a bunch of. I mean, maybe if they're like 13 years old and they don't have a job, and all they do is like play New World. They're like,
Yeah.
oh man, I could have taken that day to like I don't know do chores, But no, they didn't. I'd rather play B. I'd
That-
rather play 2 days.
Yeah, no, it's true. Because, yeah, especially if you had, like, it was, like, your best in slot, like, PvP or, like, your like, a good, really good, like, ward gear or something like that, and you lost it all, it'd be pretty rough. Although,
Oof,
obviously, I
yeah.
say they lost it all, they give it back. And also what we were talking about is there was compensation. The players that were affected got 50,000 marks of fortune. And to put that into context, that's enough to be able to buy you the battle pass and all of the gear sets as well. So, yeah, you
Yeah.
just get all of the content for free, basically.
Basically, yeah, they give it to them for free. And talking about buying the gear sets, I know obviously this has been a touchy subject for you because it is a quality of life feature at the end of the day. And are we gonna start charging for quality of life features now? When does it stop? Right? But some people are saying, how are they supposed to make money? I'm okay. All right, listen, if they're gonna give us this quality of life feature and then they're gonna charge us money, why did they put a limit?
Mm.
Why don't they let me buy 20 if I wanted to, man? I was only forced to buy like 6 of them. It's like, do you want money or you don't want money? Like, which one is it? Why are you not letting me buy 20 of them? I would have bought 20, but if they would have given the community 10, which is a very good thing to go by, like, 10 gear sets, you can wiggle room in there. Okay, do you want your PvP sets? Then you want your 5 different mutation, and you have 2 for whatever you want to do, But 2 is not enough. Not enough at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think it'd be a good compromise. Honestly, just give everybody 10, and then you can get more after that. Because 10 will I think I'm in the same situation you. I've already used all of my sets already, and I want more. But yeah, 10 would like be pretty good for to keep everybody
Baseline.
kind of happy and be like, hey, here's the new feature, and you can actually like get a decent taste of it. Because two is just like. That's like, come on, man.
Come on, bro. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
like, come
cheeky.
on, man. Yeah, like imagine, yeah, you're like, you can use this car, but you can only use it for 10 minutes, because you run out of gas. Like, all right, I know I need to go put gas now. Like, why? It's mandatory. I need to go put gas if I want to use the car. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you don't give me just 2 meters of a tank. You just give me enough room for me to actually be comfortable. And then if I want to explore more, if I want to go to some other place, well, now I need to put gas. I keep moving forward. But it's really unfair to give you a cab with no gas.
Yeah, no, it almost feels like more rude. The fact that they give you just like a small amount, It's like when you're
Yeah.
gonna like leave a tip or whatever, and you leave a tip and it's like, like what, like 50 cents or something. Like, oh wow, thanks, man. Whoa, you shouldn't have. But yeah, the other feature of like monetization. So there's 2 other. Like one thing that and we this obviously there's a lot more to season 1, but the monetization is something that people are interested in. We have the season pass, and then we also have boost tokens have been introduced as well. For me, I don't really have too much of an issue with either of those. The boost tokens, some people are saying like, oh, this is the introduction of pay to win, and also some people are saying in the season pass, it's pay to win. But so far, I haven't really found it to be that way. What do you reckon, Trick, when
No.
it comes to that season pass and boost tokens?
I'm level 55 in the season pass right now. If anything, the $20 that I spend have gotten me nothing worth $20.
Yeah.
So far, so it's basically like pay to lose. The main reason I did pay the $20 is because the extra skins that you get, and if you put value to skin, then yes, there will be above $20 because you get a 10 skin, you get a weapon skins, you get tool skins that will probably would never use. But if we're talking about money, and value, the $20 is it's a pretty good value for the skins that you get there. Now, anything paid to win related, it's just preposterous. Like it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. Not even close. It's not paid to win. Now, for the tokens, you have the tokens that increases the experience for you to level in at a profession.
Mm-hmm.
For already a max player like us, that does absolutely nothing. Like we're never gonna use those tokens at all because they don't affect aptitude. So what is the point? And then you have the ones that gives you weapon experience. Once again, we will only use those whenever a new weapon comes out because we already have all the weapons level 20. The only token that I see that is useful to an extent is the one that gives you territory standing. And if you already have all your territories at 300, then basically all the tokens are completely useless to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the season pass and the boost tokens, honestly, they present more value to new and returning players as opposed to the like existing player base. Because there's umbral shards in there and stuff, which is pretty damn useful. I think a lot of people have issue getting umbral shards, because everybody's doing M10 and nobody really wants to go back to M1, M2, M3, M4. And you can go and get umbral shards from Outpost Rush, and it'll only take you like 6 years to get to 625 or something. So, yeah. The fact that there's some umbral and gypsum in there is kind of nice.
I think it's just like a catch-up mechanic, basically. It's more what it is. It's like a catch-up mechanic. All right, here, catch up real quick, get to 200, get your stuff so you can be in the end game. Which I recommend everybody to be everything on 200. I know it hurts because I would love for people to be like master jewel crafters or like master armors, like everybody can craft gear. Like if you have everything on 200, let's say you can craft gear from 590 to 595. You have like purples, you can upgrade it to 600, you get the extra stat, whatever. But you need like a master armor to make that probably like 600 gear score. If you want to make crafting sort of like unique and people like, I want to spend a lot of resources in becoming like a very good armor, so it gives me like profit on the side. But yeah,
we talked a little bit about this in the previous podcast, like this idea of like having like specializations that like focusing on one particular thing, and as a result it allows you to specialize in that thing. You can do it better than everybody else. Because one of the like designs of New World is that everybody can kind of do everything. If you want to be a tank, you just switch your gears, switch your stats. If you want to craft this thing, you just change your armor and your trophies and your food and your earring, and you get the buff. It's really really quick to just change between crafting. But
somebody said in chat, if two brand new players are starting the game at the same time, one gets the season pass, the other one doesn't, you can tell me that the player with the season pass won't be ahead of one without it. That is paid to win. Yeah, but the thing is, like, does it really matter if a person has 500 Umbra shards when they're level 20 compared to level 60? It doesn't really matter because it does not gonna affect the end game play. Once they get to level, because if you're judging the game for between level 1 to 59, you're not really playing the game. Whatever you gain in that time there, if you get it, it's the same as saying, what if a person plays 8 hours a day and a person gets to play 1 hour a day? Is that like pay to win? No, that person has more free time. He will advance faster. The other one will play 1 hour a day. They will get there to the same, not at the same time, but they will eventually get there. Can one person paying money get something the other one can? No. Honestly, no. They will both get the same thing. It's probably paid to progress, but it's not paid to win. You're not winning, you're progressing faster, which is always a subject of like, it's very touchy. People are like, paid to progress, I think is something that people created, so it's not like paid to win. Paid to progress has always been something that I think has been in the game. Like Boost, WoW did that. You can get your character to level 60 with one boost. But are you really better than a person that took their time to level up their character? And because for me, an MMO is what happens at the end game. What happens at the end game is what matters. What happened between 1 and 59, I don't care about. How fast a person got from, people get boosted by friends all the time. That doesn't make them better players. Just because you progress faster doesn't mean that you're winning at the game.
I think, to play devil's advocate, if this came out during the release of New World, then I think I would certainly be more have strong opinions about it, because you could get to level 60 faster, and like there was a legitimate difference during the release where people who were level 60 had a better advantage in wars because you got more access to more abilities and stuff, and you can start getting the 600 gear score. Well, you couldn't back then because it was the bug with 591 gear score, but yeah, if it was like on a fresh start server, people who got the Battle Pass, Season Pass, and boost tokens could get to level 60 faster, could take over territories faster, could push through to M10 faster. So, like, from all the competitive aspects of the game, they would be able to get there sooner. But this far into the game, where we are right now, it doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference. So it is going to be situational. Like, some people might see it as pay to win because they're just starting the game, and I kind of do get where they're coming from. But I also think there's an extreme distinction between what we have in New World and what you have in something like Black Desert Online or Lost Ark, where you can or even like World of Warcraft, where you can just literally buy gold. Like you can buy the WoW token, and if you could just buy gold in New World, and I know people do it from like RMT, but if Amazon just like hey, you can buy gold like basically does everything for you in New World. That's how you get the crafted gear, which is the most consistent way to get Bastion slots. So yeah, it's I don't think it's pay to win either, but I can see how somebody can you can make the argument, but
I think you hit the nail in the head. If it was at the beginning of the game where everybody wants to race to level 60 to get the territories first, then I can totally see how they can be like, oh, that's pay to win. But right now, you could have said it better. Right now, absolutely means nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely not, because 90% of the player base is already level 60. So yeah.
Some positive that we could maybe also take from this as well. I don't know. Maybe you have to, it's like a little bit copium or whatever. But New World last week was actually in the top 10 for best sellers on Steam. So they clearly were making some good money. They were, I think they were 6th place or something like that. So obviously did sell quite a few season passes, quite a few gear set storage systems. My imagination is that within the realm of Amazon Game Studios, if a game is, going to make some good money, especially like this far after it's been released, that New World continues to generate revenue and has like a record-breaking week for sales, then the executives will be like, oh, that's good. We're not going to shut that game down. We're going to continue to, put people on the project. So yeah, maybe this does buy us some like more long-term sustainability for New World now that the executives have some confidence that there is going to be a continuous source of revenue coming into the game.
No, 100%. Honestly, the most exciting thing that I'm about in the season pass is the flame cores. So I can go use the gypsum and be completely disappointed every time I use it, because I used it like 8 times already. It always give me some shitty purple item.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this garbage?
It's the fact that it's 10 flame cores as well. Like, it's pretty, like 10 flame cores is pretty expensive, actually.
It's pretty expensive. Yeah, it's pretty hefty, bro.
Yeah.
It's like 5,000 gold gamble to get a purple item. It's like, okay, well, god darn it. And it's not even, you cannot even pick anything.
Yeah.
You don't pick anything. It's like, boom, random, focus, intelligence, heavy piece. Take it.
If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, they implemented a new item in Season 1. They're called Flame Cores. You can get them from the new dungeon. Some come from the Season Pass, and you can also get them just by killing humans or Varangians out in the world. I think if you go to the Elite Point of Interest, you can get a lot more Flame Cores there. You have to take 10 Flame Cores to the Flame Core Forge, which is right next to the new Empyrean Forge dungeon. If you put in 10 flame cores, you can get an unstable cast back, which is basically the same as a gypsum cast. And you click it, you open, and you get a random item. And it truly is random. I got the last item I got was a musket that was focus, and it had keen, ruinous, and human bane. So I was like, whoa.
Oh, it was legendary?
It was legendary, I know, right?
You got a legendary?
So it's yeah, it's a lot of work to get a pretty crappy item, probably fairly consistently. So
Yeah.
yeah, the main reason why I've been
Hey,
doing any more is because my season pass and some of the challenges are like use the flame core forge. So
use the flame core. Yeah, you have to. It's mandatory. They like you gotta use like 10 of them. Like it's like 100 freaking flame cores, bro. That's like above 50,000 gold. So I was thinking yesterday, B, what the hell is gonna happen with the flame core and the flame core forge once season 2 hits live?
I
Like
don't know.
nobody's gonna like that's gonna be like a forgotten resource because you can only get them by killing the Varangians, but nobody's gonna be outside of the Varangian forge, and probably everybody and their mother is now farming the humans. So that's why there's a lot of these flame cores, but they're not easy to get. You end up probably getting one or 3 a day. Or, well, obviously if you do the but eventually nobody will ever remember about that, and nobody will ever use it ever again.
Yeah.
So it's probably gonna be like a forgotten thing. And I don't like when games do that, when they add content that gets forgotten, because then either they have to remove it of the game or it's just taking space for something that nobody's absolutely doing. You know?
Yeah, it's true. It most likely is just I don't know, unless they legitimately do plan to just shuffle it out with the season or whatever. I think the seasonal
Right.
quests that they've done, I don't think the quest with the Silver Crows is going to exist after season 1, which is interesting cuz like, they've obviously invested time into the voice acting, into the planning, into the scripting of the quests, and then all those quests are going to be gone in like 3 months. One thing that I
Wait.
do feel like sorry. You all right?
No, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Like one thing I do think that the new world does need is like evergreen content, content that you can keep going and do over and over again, repeated every day, and it's just like always relevant to do. Like Outpost Rush is kind of an example. Crafting your Asmodium, your runic leather, like dailies in a roundabout way, something like that. A repeatable form of content is like, in my opinion, there was still just like not necessarily that much to do in the game. You can go in, you do Outpost Rush, you do some mutations, you maybe craft your dailies. There's been a bit more to do now that there is the season pass. But yeah, the idea that they are introducing content like this that is then going to get rotated out, I think for me, dev time that's put to content that is like, consistent and lasts like long term and doesn't just only last for the duration of the season, or in case of the Flame Core Forge, maybe only for like the next month, and then everybody's just bored of it. Yeah. I think
So you actually think they will get rid of the Silver Crow questline once season 2 releases?
I don't know. Maybe I thought it was like the seasonal questline was related to the season, but maybe not.
Right.
I guess there's no reason why they wouldn't have to, right? There's nothing that specifically says season 1.
Right. I mean, they should leave. They should leave it. The one thing is, flame cores cannot be taken away because I just remember that you need flame cores for the new hard rune, right?
Yeah.
So
we're also
if
going
people
to
want
use
the
them
new-
for the new event as well, the Fury of the Spriggan, whenever that arrives.
Oh yeah. Unless they make the flame cores a actual usable resource for all the things rather than just the hard rune and the cast, what they could do is at the end of the season remove the forge that forge and probably add it to a new dungeon. Or what if every new dungeon is gonna have like something similar to that, a forge that it's a way to create items that have the ward specific for that dungeon. But maybe not, because then that means that they had to create like a new type of monster for every season, when for the next season, Blood of the Sand, they could just use again Varangian Knights and Ancients or whatever, and they don't have to create another forge. I'm just worried that it just sits there and nobody ever uses it again.
Yeah, it's true.
Because...
Unless like the forge gets packed up and then moves to like a new location every season or whatever, and there is a new resource, but it just the new resource now just starts dropping from an existing enemy that it previously didn't drop from. Maybe. So, I mean,
what a... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the concept of the forge is pretty cool. Like this idea that it's a way that you can put resources into it to get ward gear, because historically quite a lot of people have trouble getting ward gear unless they go to the trading post. But people are like, how do I get ward gear? And I'm like, yeah, you can get corrupted ward if you go do normal tempest. I'm like, but nobody's doing normal tempest. And I'm like, yeah, sorry, dude. Yeah.
You know what I would have liked to see more? Instead of putting 10 cores there and getting a completely random item, I wish the flame core forge would have been like a store where you go in there and it tells you for 25 flame cores, you're gonna get this purple piece of item, right, with human and refreshing intelligence, and then the third perk will be random. you know, and you gamble that way because and you get to pick what do you want: dexterity, intelligence, or strength, or focus. Because right now it's too much of a gamble. Right now you could spend 1,000 flame cores and never get anything close to a piece of armor that you actually want. Instead, if they would make it like a store where the person grinds and was like, all right, you know, at least I know I'm getting refreshing and ward. Everybody uses refreshing and ward. You know, that is generic for every PvEer. And then put the third perk as a gamble. That is the gambling factor right there. You know, that way, you know, and you can make it like 30. That way, it's achievable. You know, 30 for a legendary that is going to be a random third perk. That is pretty good, you know, because OPR you get a random third perk if you upgrade it to legendary, and it costs less than 30 flame cores. If we put the value of the flame core, they're like about, you know, 500 gold, and then 30 of them, that is, you know, that is like 15,000 gold. 15,000 gold to for a random third perk. That's a pretty good deal. That, and if you are very lucky, you could even have a full set with, like, you know, a little bit above 100,000 gold, which is quite nice when it comes to PvE, because you can get a full purple set of PvE with, you know, ward and refreshing for like 4,000 apiece, and it's just full purple. And if you want a legendary, you either have to craft it yourself or hope that somebody gets it and puts it in the marketplace, or hope that you eventually get it in the dungeon. So there's too many hopes, way too hard for you to be able to get this dungeon gear. They should make it a little bit easier, and at least the gambling has a meaning behind it, not completely randomized.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought for a long time now. Every time you go to the faction vendor, and I'm like capped out on faction tokens, I'm like, there's like nothing to buy there. Man. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just get some rune bags or chunks of consecrated iron or whatever. But what if we could just buy some like baseline ward or resilient gear from the faction vendor? It was 590 gear score. And you could even put something that is like, it costs tokens, gold, and flame cores, or it could be like some sort of relevant material for every type of thing. So if you go farm ancients, you get like ancient bones, and if you go farm the Varangans, you get the flame cores. You go farm the lost, you get putrid goo or whatever, and you can trade in the goo with a little bit of gold, a little bit of faction tokens, and get a piece of lost ward gear, or get a piece of resilient gear, or get a piece of, you know, and then you could just like a baseline way to sort of get you into the game with a tangible 100. Way that you can actually go out and grind it, and you don't need other players if you're, you know, some people are like anxious to find a group, or they struggle to find a group because nobody wants to come back and help them, and they can sort of get themselves up onto the ladder. That the faction shop for a long time has just been like, dude, I don't know, man, it's dead.
even the freaking the perks, the PvP perks, you can only get those PvP perks through the PvP track, and you have to pray to the PvP RNG god that they give you the freaking perk on the track so you can pick from it. And sometimes it gives you the same perk like in a small box and then on a large box. It's like, god damn it, bro, you cannot give me it on the next track. You have to give me the reward that I'm looking for twice. The PvP tracks, the PvP perks that you can only get on track, those things should be able to be purchased on the PvP vendor for marks 100%. There's no reason why. The gear that you get in the PvP track, you should also be able to buy it with freaking tokens, just for a more expensive, you know, like 50,000 token or something like that. You can get it for the PvP track relatively for free. But if you don't get it, because let's be real, some people get the Champion's Ring in track 7, while some people get the Champion Ring in track 120. Some people get it in 2 days, some people get it in 3 months. That is really freaking unfair. Super unfair, man, because you literally have the possibility of never getting the Champion's Ring. If you make it that if you go to the PvP store, you buy it for 50,000 marks, people can farm 50,000 marks in like 3 days. That's not a big deal, you know. And 3 days for an item is quite nice. And I think everybody would just can get the PvP set easier without, wow, I'm 128, I'm still looking for the champion amulet. It's really unfair, man. It's really unfair that there's so much RNG dictating the game. It's unreal. Everything is RNG. Everything.
Yeah, it's true. This goes back to, we were talking about this in the previous podcast, like gear progression in New World isn't necessarily tied to skill. It's just tied to getting lucky. You know, you just gotta get the right thing to drop from the right box, or craft the right item, or get the right item from the reward track. There's no, and yeah, we could make 2 new accounts trick and race each other to like the goal to best in slot or whatever, and you could like do it way faster than me.
Yeah.
Even though we played the same amount of time every day, just because you got luckier with the stuff that you got from your season pass boxes, from your PvP rewards track, from just chests and mobs. Yeah, the game isn't very good at rewarding you by like actually giving you, hey, you did this thing and here's a reward, or like here's a vendor where you can go buy something so you can tangibly see, all right, if I spend this amount of time, I will eventually get this piece of gear. I will say, just in case somebody from Amazon is watching, is like, well, what about this? The materia, yeah, the materia system does actually work. It's true. With the materia, you can eventually run the dungeon over and over again, and you can get the drop that you finally want. But let's face it, 95% of the dungeon drops are really crap.
They're bad. Bro, the only reason I'm sitting in materia there is for if one day I'm doing a random build that requires a random weapon and a random dungeon drops it, well, I'm gonna go craft it with materia. I have never looked at an item from any dungeon ever. I'm like, that's gonna be a piece of armor for my biscuit. Never. There's not an item in the game. If you look at my entire set right now, there's not one singular item that drops in the game. Every single one of them is crafted.
Yeah, we got pretty lucky as a healer. Like, there's actually life staffs are one of the few weapons that are like consistently pretty good. There's a good life staffs you can get from a few different dungeons. But yeah, for most other like specs, most other classes or whatever you call it, you've got to craft something kind of bespoke to actually get some decent gear.
No, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And even though that you can get illegal perk combinations via drops, they're still not stronger than crafting.
Yeah.
Even though you could have like a friggin' super powerful illegal item, it's not even better than crafting. Which, what happened? You remember when they got rid of that ring for SS, and then they were like, oh, he had illegal perks, so we decided not to release it, and in the process we're also going to be getting rid of all of the illegal ring perks in the game.
Yeah.
They never did that. But
they did nerf that one ring that like they were just like they really screwed that ring though. Like, it used to have, I can't remember what the perks were now. It was like the heart of something, and then they completely screwed it.
But there's like a 90,000 out there freaking items in the game that are illegal. They were like, well, man, there's a lot of illegal items. We should have never said that.
Yeah, I think they realized like, holy flip, dude.
They just hoping we forget.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
Like, look,
the heart of Mega Ball or whatever. It used to be like it was like hearty, keen, and slash damage or something. It was like really good for like great swords and hatchets and stuff. And now it's hearty, keen, and poisoning. By the way, we're gonna get so tangent. Poisoning is such a crap perk, dude. Like, there's only one thing that applies poison in the game. It's like the poison arrow. Nothing else applies poison. It's so it's like it lasts 28% longer. Like, what a pointless perk, man. Oh, dude.
That is so bad, dude. Yeah. It's so freaking bad. Oh my god. I never looked at it that way. I was like, wow, look, if you have a poison pill, you can poisoning. But there's only one poison of it.
Yeah, maybe the rune glass gems, because that counts. I don't know, but it's
that could be it.
Yeah,
that could be it.
But it's like it lasts 2 seconds. You make it last 28% longer, so it lasts 2.1 seconds. Like, yeah, whatever.
Wow, it's just like Runius.
Yeah.
Indestructible. Oof. You gotta watch out.
Oh,
you gotta watch out.
Yeah. So we do know actually. Bringing this back around to, I guess, like, but there's still stuff that we want to talk about in season 1, but in the future roadmap they said that there's like I think I remember seeing it earlier, they were talking about a perk overhaul or something like that. It was sometime later on. I'm gonna have to find this now, but I hope they go through and do look like at ruinous and stuff like that, and poisoning and indestructible. Beastbane and Beastward have been like on the docket for a long while, and maybe people have been speculating that a new raid might finally be like Beastbane or Beastward. Yeah.
Hopefully, man. Really, hopefully, but it seems like it's gonna be Angry Earth, but they can change that at any given time. Look, Ifrit was Angry Earth, and they changed her to human, just like that, So they could get the freaking Sandworm and change it from Angry Earth to Beast in a blink of an eye. And if they are, which, again, this is just a speculation, probably there's not going to be, but if there are trash mobs, and for those of you that don't know what trash mobs are, trash mob is mobs that you kill between bosses. Like anything from boss A to boss B, anything that you kill in between is just trash mobs. if they do add trash mobs to that raid that you need to defeat like waves of them before you fight the worm or something like that, and they are like beasts, like either that, you know, because in the desert you have the new dog looking creatures, right? The
Yeah.
one that
Jackals or
scream,
something. Yeah.
the ones that are by the acid pools, those are
Oh.
considered beasts, right? The scorpions, they should also make him beast and
Hmm.
have like scorpion and have those anime, because right now beast is obsolete. Like there's no reason for you to have beasts in the game. There's nothing that, you know, that is beast at all. At all.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's like nothing. I mean, maybe you go into barnacles and black powder, and there's the crocodiles in between. Those are beasts, but nobody's gonna switch for the crocodiles.
Nobody
Just...
cares. Yeah, nobody cares.
There's
about
also a bunch of
crocodile.
lost in there still at the same time. So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I see somebody raising a
So-
point in the chat, and I've seen this a few times echoed around the community now. People saying that we, you know, because we have so many different, we got Ancient Ward, we got Angry Earth Ward, we got Lost Ward, we got Corrupted Ward, we got Human Ward. There's probably another ward set that I've forgotten about, and then you've got your Resilient as well. People talking about this idea of like consolidating all of the ward gear either into one perk or just straight up removing it, and maybe the same with Resilient as well, just having it like baseline within your character. You just have like a 20% damage reduction versus that thing. What do you think about the idea of either consolidating all the wards into one perk, or the straight up idea of removing ward and removing resilient, and then so people have like, you know, you can create more customization with your build?
So with that will cause two things. First, the first thing that will cause it will be a power creep, because if we don't know how to put resilient or ward in our gear, that means that we can put refreshing.
Yeah.
You know, and that with a full set of refreshing, the cooldown is it's quite something, you know. So now you have every single PvPer with a full set of refreshing, you know, freedom and their weapon perks and elemental aversion, and everybody will just be pretty freaking powerful. So if we increase, if we get rid of resilient, everybody will have refreshing. That means that we need to increase everybody's HP, because everybody's attack will be significantly quicker, or we need to nerf the damage. So and also, how the hell would you justify buying more gear sets if they, you know,
True,
yeah,
dude.
like come on, chat. Like, how will you think Amazon is gonna make gear sets and then remove wards, when that's probably gonna be the thing that's gonna bring in more money along the road? Well, and they know that every time they create a new ward, people will be like, oh, I gotta buy a new gear set. They go hand in hand. Every time they create a new ward, they know that is hundreds of thousands of players paying $5 to get a brand new gear set. They know that it's income every single time they create a new set for something. The same thing that if they create the riding profession with the mounts, and there is a gear associated with that, like training gear, right? So you can have your horses have more beautiful eyes or whatever. I don't know how that profession is gonna go, right? Yeah. That's another gear set. So they already want to have as many gear set as possibly can. I understand that the players just want to get rid of it, so they're like, oh, god darn it, I need to farm another set now, and this is my 47th set. But I actually, and this could be controversial as hell, I actually enjoy farming different sets. I find joy in me not being powerful against that thing at all, and then actually going out there, spending time, resources, getting a set to fight that, and then feel the reward, feel my character progression. But that's just me. I'm weird.
I think I would enjoy it more if it was like a little bit more tangible to like get a good set, you know. I guess like farming, because you're farming for a new set, but you don't really like reliably get it though. Like there's no, I mean there is a few places that you can target the drop ward gear, right? But yeah.
How about if ward gear was something more like a gem, you know?
Yeah, I've seen people.
Yeah. Instead of they should be human protection gems, loss protection gems. That way, and any damage that you receive from the loss, either physical or range, will be prevented by this gem. And then you're like, Trick, but what about when we have fire week and we have ice week? Then, well, you want your flame conditioning set or your ice conditioning set, because why the hell did they create ice conditioning, flame conditioning? And this conditioning, if people are not going to use it, either they get rid of the conditioning, or, you know, because right now, if it is a fire mutation, you don't put flame conditioning, you put fire gems. You know, you put fire gem, human wars, and now you're protected against humans and against fire. But that way, then we need a different set for every single occasion. If they remove ward, then people will need to start using conditionings, because then how will they be protected their damage will be higher because now instead of having ward, they can have another perk. But where's the protection coming from? You know. But you like you said, you could have it just in there, on their gear, and for the resilient, it maybe could be different. Maybe for the resilient could be different because for PvP, yes, I understand people have different sets, but nobody has more than like 3 sets. The only way that you can have more than 3 sets is if you're a player that plays with so many different classes. Like I have my bruiser set, I have my healer set, I have my archer set, I have my mage set, and at that point, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, sure. You just want to play every single class in the game.
Hmm.
I think it will be too much of a power creep, and it will kind of defeat the purpose and the direction that they're going with the games, with the gear sets and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that they literally just introduced human ward and the gear set storage system seems to be a big indicator that we're probably not going to go that direction. But yeah,
Right.
that would be interesting to have the
Exactly.
discussion. Speaking of the human ward and the flame protection and stuff like that, obviously, good like important perks to have in the new dungeon, the Empyrean Forge. You've done a few runs of Empyrean Forge yourself, right, Mr. Trick? You've had
Yes.
a rodeo in there. What do you think of the new
Mhm.
dungeon? What do you think about the
Dude.
bosses and the mob, the layout, everything, the music?
We talked about this. We talked about this a little bit, last episode. But I think the Imperial Forge, it just said it just sets the bar so high for AGS. Like any dungeon coming in the future right now needs to be equally as dope as Imperial Forge or better.
Mm,
If it is worse, people will be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
yeah.
Because I mean they've been doing a great job. If we look at every single dungeon that has been created right after the first initial, god damn it,
Yeah, the first boss, like the mechanics in that, like the first time I did it on the PTR, I was like, holy flip, dude, this is man. Like I was like, I think, and I always put it like into perspective of like, all right, what's the worst boss in New World? It's probably Chartis, like the Chartis
yeah.
is pretty boring. You just stand there and you go click, 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 and then somebody runs over to the laser. Then you go click, 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 and then that's it. It's done. And now we're in the Empyrean Forge where there's like fire's coming out the wall. You got to dodge. She's got like a flame wall and stuff. Meteors coming down. You've got freaking Meatball Commander doing like a spinning axe, and this volcano is coming out, and everyone's screaming and on fire. And I'm like, holy flip, dude, this is so much more fun. There's
So
like more to do.
Yeah.
Some people are saying like there's too much going on in the final boss fight, and I don't know. Like sometimes I feel it a little bit in my soul, but it's usually when the runs are going bad. Do you think the final boss fight is overtuned, or like how are you feeling about it? Because I also saw, and we're not like trying to name drop or anything or like how
Right,
drama
I know
here,
exactly
but
where you're going.
Asmongold did the new run,
Asmon, yeah,
and obviously he has a big audience and a big influence in terms of
course.
MMOs. And he was saying that like there's too much going on at the same time. What do you take on that? What do you think about the?
I actually think Ifrit and the Commander are a perfect battle for how the New World fights. Because the thing about New World is that you don't have several people doing different mechanics. When you're playing WoW, you have a person tag, you have a person doing a mechanic like carrying an orb, doing something. There's usually something that it's going on other than just doing damage and avoiding stuff. Right. In New World, the way the New World combats is completely different. There's no mechanics going on. Nobody needs to stand food on a platform so the boss can be damaged or etc. So the only job that you have in New World is doing damage and avoiding stuff. If you don't have enough stuff to avoid, it's a boring fight, right? And the one thing that I can see why this is so difficult in the new dungeon, it's more of a camera issue. Whenever your character gets close to a wall, your camera completely zooms in and you cannot see anything. All you can see is what is in front of you, but you don't see what's happening around you. You don't see what's happening on your character. So if the camera, instead of zooming inside of you when you're close to a wall, will instead go to like a little higher area, so you have more visibility. Actually, it's not about the amount of things that are there. It's we don't see them because the room is too little. You spend as a DPS, you cannot be in the center of the room because you have volcanoes, you have lava, you have the boss in the center of the room. There's a lot of things going on in the center of the room. But then if you are at the outer of the room, the camera is like right there. You cannot see anything. So it's more of a problem of vision. Like you cannot see what's going on rather than there's too much going on. Because look at Ifrit. Ifrit has equally as, it has so many things. It has, like I said, the flamethrower, the meteor, the waves coming. but the room is significantly bigger.
Yeah.
And you can see these things coming. You can avoid them easily. It's more of a room thing rather than a difficulty or quantity thing.
Yeah.
And WoW, I mean, Asmongold has been playing WoW his whole life, right? The way that you tank in WoW compared to how you tank in New World is so completely different. It's two completely different games.
Yeah.
He goes from tanking in WoW to tanking in New World, and obviously he has a different experience. And he wants New World to be like WoW, which it shouldn't, because two completely different games.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think if they just either made the boss room bigger or made it so that the walls around the air, like it were like you couldn't climb up over them, but it was basically just like almost like you're fighting in like a shallow bucket or something like that. So the camera could see over the lip, so it wouldn't get pushed up against the wall. That'd probably be the best way to go about it. Or just make the arena like bigger. Basically, just try and make it a little bit more sizable compared to like the first boss fight. And
100%, yeah.
Yeah, because it's frustrating to like lose a fight because you can't see. Like that doesn't feel like it's like a skill thing. It's just like an annoying like game design thing. So yeah.
Right. And if you are close to them, and you could literally have a volcano spawn on your feet, and you cannot see it. You cannot see it because the camera goes in front of your character. It doesn't even go behind your character. Whenever you're behind a wall, the camera is in front of your character.
Yeah.
And you cannot see anything, man. Even in PvP, it's so frustrating. In PvP, it's so frustrating because when you're connected to a wall and you're getting hit, you're like, what am I getting hit by?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. You have like melees walking on you, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. And you're dodging, and you don't see the dodge because the camera is in front of you, and it's so awkward and weird. You need to go past that point so you can start seeing your character. It's very, very annoying.
Yeah. On the topic of the PvP thing, by the way, how are you finding? We've had a bit of a change of scenery now with it, like one thing that happened in season 1. We got the new dungeon, the season pass, the gear sets, and the quests. Something that was like sort of a side piece of content. Well, it wasn't really content, but it changes the way the game is played. We had changes to Fortify, changes to Rend, Fire Staff getting some changes and buffs, melee weapons getting reduced in power level a little bit with the shift to the perks. How are you finding the PvP scene? I've played a few Outpush Rush games myself, but not that much. What's your feeling with PvP in New World these days, Trick?
Obviously, with the change to fortification, the melees received the biggest hate. Why? Because melees usually had the most amount of fortifications, right? If you're talking about a Great Axe or Hammer, these guys have perk that just by being next to 3 people, they have 15% damage reduction.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if they had a set of Shuriken fortification, that would be 20%. So we're talking about 35%. And then they were sitting on top of a sacred ground, and just like that, boom, they have 50% fortification, which is 50% damage reduction. So for an entire year, all of these melee have been very, very used at not receiving as much damage as they should have, just because they're in a clump, and surrounded by 3 or more people, dodging and on top of a sacred ground. So now 40%, people are taking like 30 to 40% more damage because of, again, this fortification nerfs, right? So they're going into a clump, and then they're getting dead. They're dead like this. And they're like, wow, fire mages are insane damage, ridiculous. I was like, wow. The thing is, the damage didn't get taken away, but the protections did, and by a lot. Like a big jump, right?
Yeah.
And now you're clumping, and you have a class that is literally designed to do as much damage as possible to a clump, right? So you guys are playing into this weapon's power level, and then you guys are saying that the weapon is too powerful. Now, obviously, it's a change of meta because it was a balance change. People cannot expect to play the same way that they've been playing for a whole year when it was a complete shift, right? The whole game has changed. People need to start now playing more defensive and less offensive. People need to start considering having elemental aversions and having more protections on their gear. People need to stop playing super aggressive going into the middle of the clump. And that applies to everybody. Even me, myself, as a mage blunderbuss, I used to love going into the middle of the clump, do splitting grenades, do my blunderbuss ability, have 50% damage reduction with an oak flesh bomb, roll, get out of there with a net shot, and I was handy dandy. I go in there with a burnout right now, and I'm like, and I'm dead, But the thing is, you have range and you have melees, right? The melee feels pretty useless because before they can get to the range, they're already dead. And I understand that is kind of unfair, but that is one, the map layout, and two is the new weapon that just came out, which is called the fire staff, because for an entire year we didn't have fire staff. So yeah, the brand new weapon that just came out, the fire staff, and everybody's playing with it, and people are like, wow, fire staff is so OP, everybody's playing with it. I'm like, wait a second, you guys remember when greatsword came out? Everybody was playing greatsword. Healers, bow, mages, tanks, gray swords and gray swords, everybody. And I was like, listen, if they would have added a weapon that was literally a railgun, everybody in OPR would have been using the railgun. It would have been laser beams all over the place.
Like the musket.
Right. And the main problem with the new fire staff, and I already talked to with my community about this, is the flare. The flare is the biggest issue. That is the one that creates that little explosion with the heavy attacks, right?
Yeah, so left side of the tree, somewhere down the bottom. If you fully charge a heavy attack, it does a splash 1 meter AoE.
Exactly, full damage on your heavy attack. So, and the basic attacks of fire staff are 45 meters, right? Meaning that, and the pillar of fire is 20 meters. So you can see how they can play literally twice the effective range of a mage and still be useful. They are sitting next to the archers, spamming heavy attacks together with the archer into the clumps, and that is the unhealthy part. Because yes, mages can do insane AoE damage, but their effective range is 20 meters, right? In 20 meters, that is like a charge away, like a gravity well. It's pretty close to the enemy. But right now, the mages don't even need to be close to the clumps to do insane damage, because like I said, they can be sitting on the ramparts, just spamming heavy attacks non-stop without any risk at all. So flare is the first thing that needs to go for health-wise of the game, right? Imagine if bow heavy attacks will do a splash damage to everybody. Everybody will lose their mind. So why do we give it to the fire staff? It makes absolutely no sense, right?
So you would just say just take it out completely then?
Either take it out completely, or you rework it in a way that is not what it is now. You could give it a cooldown. You could give it that, every 3 seconds. You can make it that the explosion only happens on impact play or hitting a player. Actually, that way they don't shoot to the floor. You can make it that if you get flare, the damage of your heavy attack is reduced by 30%. It could be so many things that they could make flare rather than what it is now. Because what they did by decreasing the movement speed of flare by 25%, that really doesn't make anything at all. Like if you see the difference in travel distance, it only gets affected whenever you're shooting at a target that is like 40 meters away. But whenever you're shooting at a target that is 40 meters away, you're usually not selecting just one target, you're shooting at the clumps. Meaning that you never, ever realistically going to miss. Because you're shooting at the clumps, a heavy attack. So it's very, very, very unhealthy for the game. But to answer your question, what do I feel about PvP? I think it's getting better. The first day, definitely there was 30 fire staff in every OPR. The second day, there was 28. The third day, there was 25. And I went in yesterday, and there was actually about 10 to 15 fire staff. So they are definitely going down as it was projected. The same with the greatsword. The first day they came out, everybody was greatsword. 1 week later, half of the greatswords were out. Once people start to realize that is not the class that they want to play, once they realize that is not what they expected, people are bound to leave, and realistically, this patch that we are playing now has been the best patch for combat ever since the very beginning of the game. The only thing that we're having right now is an unbalance of power, with everybody being, fire staff and bows, you're spamming heavy attacks. Right. So in 2 months from now, once everybody, pretty much evens out and people start to get used to the new meta, and hopefully flare gets either reworked or removed, it's going to be super, super, super healthy all the wise for the game. The healers are not super mega strong anymore. The bruisers are not super mega strong anymore. And the mages obviously get a little bit of power. The bow is still hitting so freaking hard. I have 27% thrust protection, and oh my god, every single bow shot, I feel like I got hit by a freaking cannon blast, bro. It's like 3,000. It's like, shit. Hide behind the pillar, drink a potion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, because now with the fortification nerfs, archers like, oh, what if we go 450 decks? We're gonna hit it even hard now than before. So now that's what they're doing. They're playing 30-40 meters away with 450 decks, hitting every shot for 4,000. And before anybody gets close to them, they're pretty much dead, because they nerfed the bow. Yes, they did. But the amount that they nerfed the bow compared to the amount of defense that they nerfed the people, the bow still is so good, bro. It's insane. Like those 5 to 10% nerf compared to the 30 to 40% nerf to armors, it's not even close. It's not even remotely close.
I noticed it, like, because, you know, as a healer, you have your fortifying sacred grounds. It's like 10% fortify. Orb is another 10% fortify, and then when you land a left click,
attack.
you get like a 15% fortify. So we had about a 35% damage reduction on average.
On average,
yeah, and now 35% damage reduction, which was fortify. It's still 35% fortify, but it only increases your armor by 35%, which is nowhere near as good as the. So yeah, it feels like you're probably taking about 20% more damage, maybe 25% more damage, and you notice it when you get hit with the bow, man. It's like, boom.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, I agree with you though. Like I have had the most fun in the last week of New World because it feels fresh. You know, it's different weapons are being used. I'm seeing like, oh my god, there's actual fire staff. People using fire staff, and new strats are being formed. People are crafting like new gear, new perks. It's like, because it felt like New World was like figured out for the longest time. Like you were just like, all right, this is it. We like undoubtedly these are the best builds. These are the best weapons. These are the best perks. If you don't get this thing, it's kind of crap. So the fact that we have some like new stuff, even if it's just changing up what we have, I appreciate it. One thing that I will say, about 5 days ago, we got a video on the New World channel. It's called The Balance of Power, which is a new series that they're doing alongside Forges in Eternum. They have these weapon balance episodes that they're going to do. I don't know if it's every week or every month or something like that, but basically Dave in that one said that every month they're planning to do a little bit of weapon balance. You know, they're not going to be leading this to every season, so it's not going to be every 3 months. It's going to be every month there's going to be some weapon balance, which you know, has me excited, because if some people feel like maybe one weapon's too powerful, one weapon's like not powerful enough, we're going to get those micro adjustments every 4 weeks. The only thing that has me concerned though is one thing that people have been complaining about with season 1 is they had to recraft a whole new set of gear because all of their light shirking fortification stuff was poop. And if they're going to be making changes to the perks and the power level, are we going to have to be like recrafting new gear every month? Because then it's going to get potentially quite frustrating, right?
I don't think so. Because if they do micro adjustments, then all we have to do is our micro adjustments, right? If something in a weapon is too overpowered, then it's probably going to be one thing, right? It's not like they're going to do like a complete overhaul of a weapon. Like, for example, you know, if something is too strong with a bow, it's probably going to be some damage nerves. So let's say that, for example, everybody's using execute. Let's say that everybody's using execute, and then in that 1 month they were like, all right, we know that execute is super strong, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring down execute a little bit down, right? So now the people that had that piece with execute, they were like, oh well, it was fun, you know, I'm gonna change this piece to something. The main reason why we're seeing in this patch this complete change of gear is because it was a complete change in balance, right? This was a 1 year of balance and put into one patch, right? Which it was meant to change how it's been going on, because like you said, people had to figure it out pretty much. That said, this is how you play the game. This is the best gear. This is the best combinations. That's it. And for a whole year, it was just like that.
Yeah.
I'm okay that they do change it at least every 3 months or so. And once again, this is the biggest weapon balancing that we have ever received. So nothing would compare to this, to the extreme, until they decide to do another, super huge balance change like that. And I understand that a lot of people are frustrated that, oh, we gotta change our gear, but pretty much everybody had to go through that. Because healers now, the healers that spend 1 million gold in an orb protection light staff, orb protection got really nerfed with the fortification nerf. So you might see a lot of people changing away from that. Maybe you don't even need fortifying sacred ground on the gear anymore, because the fortification from fortifying sacred ground is so little on the gear, so like 8% or something like that, that if you use fortifying sacred ground on a teammate that is a light player, you're pretty much rendering them instead of giving them a fortification. For the fire staff, they all had to change their gear. For the musket, the people that spend 1 million gold in their best musket now had to change their musket and get accuracy. The great axe, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. The only player that did not have to change their gear was the bow. Out of all of the classes in the game, the only class that did not have to change one thing in their set was the bow.
Yeah.
Everybody else had to change it.
Yeah, I think bow gameplay is probably pretty much the same, isn't it? In terms of like perks and abilities and even what weapons you pair with it and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yep. And PvP wise, you know, we don't change things much every so often, and that is what I've told, you know, the devs. And like, the PvP community doesn't need content every 2 months, every 3 months. We don't need a new OPR map the same way that you release a new you know, expedition. But what we need is like, bro, you give ranked arenas to PvPers and we'll be happy for an entire year. We don't care if it is the same map. Just as long as you keep the spirit of the PvPers, you know, alive, and give them something, a reason to keep on PvPing, even if it isn't the same map, we don't care. The only reason that people are asking for a new map in OPR is because we have literally been playing a casual mode. Nobody can tell you that OPR is competitive. It's not competitive at all. OPRs and arenas are casual gameplay. Unless they add ranked system to it, or unless they add something rewarding for the winners, there's no really any incentive to win or lose. The best thing out of an OPR is the crates. So,
Yeah.
and then you get the crate either by losing or winning. So there's no really a reason, right? So it's not competitive at all. It's
I
just
do
a
want
casual
to
game mode.
quickly jump in there as well, by the way, just in case that this does like somehow feedback trickle through. Please don't take the outpost rush boxes. Like, don't make it so you only have to win. Like, outpost rush boxes are great. Win or lose, those should stay there. It shouldn't be a win only reward.
Right.
Man,
Listen,
could you imagine that? Would feel so bad if you didn't get them when you lost.
You spent 35 minutes in there. No. The winner should get a better box.
Yeah.
How about that, B? Or 2 boxes. How about the winner gets 2 boxes of the same box and the loser gets 1 box?
I don't know. What do you
That
think about
way-
that, chat? What do you think about the double box, or like a better box for winning in
What do you get? Do you guys
Outpost Rush?
prefer double box?
Yeah.
I would go for the double box.
Winner gets Umbral
Winner
shots.
gets Umbral
I mean,
shot.
you already do.
Oh, that
I
could-
mean, the winner gets 100 and loser gets 50 currently. So, double box, sweaty as F, double rewards.
Look at that. Double
A few people
reward.
saying double is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, look at that. It's because anything that will make the winner feel better about winning, it's good.
Dude,
But then right now,
I think this approach definitely needs to happen to 3v3 arena. By the way, you basically like get
Oh,
nothing from
dude.
winning 3v3 arena. It's so demoralizing. Like,
it's so demoralizing, bro.
it's like whether you win or lose. Like, I go in to sometimes get the gypsum or just for like a meme, and then that's it. There's like no reason to do 3v3 arena. You know, it's just not even measured on the leaderboard. There's no leaderboard skin for it
No.
either. It's like they just completely.
No.
And now they're gonna design a new 3v3 arena map. Like, hey, don't worry, we're giving you a new map. I'm like, no, just how about just some rewards, a reason to play it.
Yeah, but now you can get the same non-rewards in a different map.
Yeah.
How about that? Huh?
Oh,
How
man.
about that?
maybe
no,
at the same
so-
time they'll implement hopefully some
Probably.
rewards, some
Probably.
reason. Yeah.
So yeah, man, PvPers are hella competitive, and we don't care. We don't care if we see the same map for an entire year, because look at League of Legends, for example. League of Legends is been out for over a decade, B, and they have never changed the map. It's been the same map since the very beginning of the game. The only thing that they have changed is the graphics and how the mobs look, and a little bit of layout, you know, changes. But it's because such a competitive game that people care more about their ranking in the world rather than the visuals of the map. You know, because PvPers are very egoistical, super egoistical. All they care about is being the best PvPer. People that play PvP for fun are not competitive PvPer. They just like, oh, I like to PvP every once in a while. But if there were to be a ranked system, that person wouldn't farm ranked a whole day. They wouldn't farm ranked for a whole month, right?
Yeah.
A PvPer will do that. A PvPer will farm 20,000 hours the same map as long as they can see their ranking, their name on the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
That's who PvP. Very egoistical. We don't care about maps as long as we can see that we are increasing in the ranking of how good or bad is this player. That is all we care about. Now, if you have casual modes that has no rewards, then you need to give us different maps so we can have different experiences, you know?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think I also just, I mean, I think a new Outpost Rush map is long overdue. I was surprised that they decided to go for 3v3 first over Outpost Rush. But yeah, that's something in the meanwhile. And I feel like, you know, when it comes to ranked PvP, hopefully it's on their radar. They haven't made any mention of it yet, I don't think, publicly or anything like that. But maybe with cross-server queuing coming in, it could actually be a reality.
It has to.
I feel like right now it can't happen because there's just not enough, not enough players to draw from. But yeah.
Yeah, if you go rank PvP, you will see within a week who's like the top in the server, and then it will stay pretty much like that. And then if you have a ranking system, you obviously need a matchmaking system. You cannot put a person that is like on 2,000 rating versus a person that is 1,000 rating.
Yeah.
And if it is server wise, obviously you will see, because whenever I was doing my tournaments in COS, even though I had new names show up every single week, it was always the same 6 names at the end. You know, regardless how many new people were trying it, it was always the same finalists. So that is the same thing that will happen if you create ranked PvP in one server. Yes, you will have a bunch of people in there, but you will have the same individuals in the top. And it's going to be the same people fighting against themselves over and over and over again. And then the lower people will be fighting against themselves as well, just improving a little bit. But, you know, it needs to be cross-server, 100%, yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm probably gonna we gotta get this up onto YouTube and also onto the podcast platform as well. So have you got any closing thoughts or anything that you plug any on the topic of tournaments? Is there anything that you've got organized coming up that you're going to be getting involved in now that we've got this new meta?
We're gonna have the first 3v3 tournament happening in COS. I think like in 2 days from now.
Nice. Okay.
That was that was gonna be interesting, and see how the new classes how they work together.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm planning to update all the build guides that I've been doing for. This is probably I'm just gonna be focusing on PvE, but the build guides for healer and tank and mage and stuff. Want to make all those changes. You got any builds? Trick?
Like too many, bro. I have the flamethrower build that I need to make. I have the artillery build that I need to make. I have a PvE build that I need to make. I have another freaking tips and trick.
Well, if you guys want to see any of those, make sure you check out the description of the show notes. We'll have links to both of our channels for PvE and PvP builds for a variety of many different classes in the game. It's gonna it's a big body of work to undertake, and right now I've just been like focusing on playing season 1 and like the Twitch drops and everything. I think everybody understands that that's the way it is, but dude. lots of new stuff to go over for sure.
But season 1 is fun, and it's been consuming a lot of our hours, between the Imperial Forge and things here and there. I honestly think, all things considered, and I know that the forums and Reddit have been very negative because of their experience that they're having, the game, it is indeed moving in a great direction, B. We cannot argue it. Like, we could have many hours that you want. The game now in April 10th of 2023, it's over 100% better than it was a year ago. Not even comparable. Not even comparable. So the fact that the game, yes, it might not be in the stage that some people want to, but we cannot deny that the game has been improving drastically and tremendously in the past year. 100%.
I agree, man.
The next season is we're gonna have more changes, and I think honestly this game just got released. Season 1 was the beginning of New World.
And you think about it, like 6 months from now, only half a year, it's like the expansion is gonna be here, dude. There's gonna be another new weapon. Raids. There's gonna be mounts. There's gonna be raids. There's gonna be cross-server queuing. There's gonna be a zone change, gear score increase. Like we got a lot of stuff to look forward to. So I know like sometimes it can be like pretty doomer if you're in the New World community. People have a pretty gloomy outlook, but I think again maybe it's hopium copium, but I think there's some exciting stuff that we're gonna see in the game now that like this seasonal sort of format is kicked off.
I like it. I just noticed your t-shirt, your sweater there.
Oh yeah, with the
I like that a lot.
All right, man. It was
man.
It was a good talk. Next time next podcast, I think the Corrupted Bunny event will be in by then. Maybe there's gonna be some like more updates on, I don't know, like what the next weapon balance patch and stuff is gonna look like. So stay tuned for that one, guys. If you enjoyed this podcast, this video, wherever you're watching it, make sure you leave a like or rate it up. For those of you on Twitch, thanks for joining us as always. And I think that's it, Mr. Trick. Thanks for the chat, man. It's good as always.
As always, we freaking love you, brother, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Catch you later, dude. Goodbye.
Goodbye, brother.